association with Academy for Creative Teaching, Bangalore. Rajiv College of Education is situated in the heart of Hassan city, Karnataka. This institution was established in the year 2004 under the Rajiv Education Trust managed by Dr. Rajiv. He is a famous pediatrician in Hassan city. Since 15 years, we have produced nearly 10,000 teachers. Some of them have become passionate teachers working in state and international schools. We follow the motto of making every student of education realize that education is the process of manifesting the latent potentials of an individual to bloom to the fullest extent, like the caring of the plants, thereby contributing to the good of man, society, and the nation. If we want to build a A1 nation, we need to prepare A1 teachers. An educator is not a mere master in the tiny classroom, but a great leader of the society and an architect of the nation. Rajiv College of Education is one such teacher institution in Hassan who prepares students so that they can dedicate themselves to the passionate profession of teaching. So here we have already started the admissions for the teacher trainees. The process will be shortly, the admissions will be open. So anyone who decides to become passionate teachers can join our institution. So those who in this actually in the COVID-19 situation, it is very important for all teachers to adopt to the online mode of transaction and improving our facilitating skills. In this pandemic condition, let us all learn something about online tools for remote teaching and how to develop effective facilitating skills for better teaching learning process. In this 2-day webinar from our resource persons, Mr. Vivekananda and Dr. Deepa Verma. The program will be moderated by Mrs. Bhuma, who is the senior most faculty of Rajiv College of Education. She is very passionate in her teaching and she has over 20 years of experience. So I request Mrs. Uma to carry over this program. Thank you.
Thank you, Mini ma'am. Is it audible? Voice?
Yes,
So
yes,
good morning, everyone. I welcome you all to the today's webinar on the future of teaching and learning conducted by Rajiv College of Education, Hassan, in association with Academy for Creative Teaching, a premier teacher training organization in India. Today is the first session and we have Dr. Deepa Verma as the speaker, and the seminar is on online tools for remote teaching. Now, I take this opportunity of introducing our honorable speaker of today's seminar, Dr. Deepa Verma, Vice Principal, Viva College of Arts, Commerce and Science, Virar, Maharashtra. Dr. Deepa Verma has done MSc Botany, B.Ed MA Education, MPhil EVS, MBA HR, PhD Botany, MA Counseling Psychology. She is the Vice Principal and IQAC Coordinator, Viva College of Arts, Commerce and Science, has 17 years of teaching experience. She has published more than 20 plus research papers. The chapters published with Apple Academic Press and Taylor and Francis. She has presented more than 20 research papers at various international and national conferences. She has won awards for paper presentation. She is in various examination panels of University of Mumbai in the subject of botany, biotechnology, environmental sciences. She is the receiver of research journals. It is associated with Student Welfare Department, Lifelong Learning Department, University of Mumbai. She is the NAC coordinator at Taluka level. Developer of MOOC for Open Education for Better World Mentoring Program, UNESCO. Now, Deepa is Dr. Deepa Verma will also be assisted by Mrs. Annapurna Madhuri, faculty, SMIORE Training, Teachers Training Center, Sandur, Bellary. Now over to Dr. Deepa Verma.
Thank you, Uma ma'am. I hope I'm audible.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's audible.
Thank you, Uma
Yes,
ma'am,
ma'am.
for the wonderful introduction, and thanks to ACT Academy for ACT Training Institute for allowing Annapurna ji to collaborate with me. I know it was at a very short notice, but then you agreeing upon is something really I appreciate. I guess this is precisely a condition where I can take the opportunity of saying that how remote teaching actually is going to make a difference to all of us, and how there are aspects associated with remote teaching which is equally important for us to understand. So it's going to be a blend, mix of activity, because I am no authority to teach the teachers who are attending the seminar. I cannot teach the teachers how to teach, but I can just put some kind of reflections as to how things have changed post this during this pandemic, and how suddenly overnight we teachers have been expected to become the superman of suddenly knowing everything in spite of no formal training being offered to us. Because when we do BEd, ICT is just a paper. Implementation of ICT is actually being done today, is what I can say, that the hardcore way is being done now. So I guess I can start sharing my screen. Just give me a minute's time. I hope my screen is visible. Okay. For helping me with the presentation again, I'll give credit to Annapurna, because I had certain issues, and collaborating with Annapurna has actually made this possible. If my screen is visible, I shall move ahead. Okay. This is a classical scenario, what you can see in the image, that teachers take to online teaching style. You are expected to follow a decorum of dress code when you are presenting yourself in front of the audience. But that's a typical scenario which actually might be happening in majority of our homes in this current situation. So before I proceed, let us just watch this small video. I don't know how much will it be visible in your mobile phones. I'll just make it full screen. Yeah. I guess this is what is the reality of, I'm sure, most of us. There's one thing that we all need to take from this is that it is time for all the teachers to mend the differences that we have as teachers with each other. It's time to come together and actually tide up through this problem. Like for today, I had an issue, and then Annapurna ji has readily pitched in, Vivek has readily agreed to it. So that is how things can actually go without stopping. So you say that there was a sentence which says that no matter what happens, you have to get up next day and you have to give your best, is what is expected from us. So that's why I told suddenly teachers are considered to become the super wonder powerful people, but the most neglected these days is what I will say, because as teachers there have been issues where we have to tackle bullying, online bullying. We have to tackle students putting up sharing the meeting ID with their friends of other schools, other colleges. And you know, these are the things wherein you as a teacher have to put up the most sane front. You cannot show any kind of anger, frustration. No matter how frustrated you are at your home, you have to still be sane. So why this situation has come and why this situation cannot come? This situation has come because of this pandemic. But if you think that the situation will not come again, it will be a biggest mistake of us. The situation can come anytime in any form for all of us. So we have to be ready for it. When we move ahead, let's see the next slide. Now, these are two terms that we should know: emergency remote teaching and online education. If we say that right now what we are doing is online education, no, I'm sorry, we are not doing online education. What we are doing is we are doing a emergency remote teaching, or precisely a remote teaching, which is a conditional thing. This is not a permanent thing which is going to exist in our lives. What is going to remain always is the online education part. So remote teaching, it is nothing but, if I have to define remote teaching, it can be put across as a concept where there is not an actual classroom setup. The physical setup is not a classroom. It is something which is outside the classroom at our own respective homes or places from which we are going to operate. Now, this can be two ways. It can be a synchronous approach or it can be an asynchronous approach. Now, we as educators, we know what is synchronous and asynchronous. Synchronous is something where you schedule classes online, where you are going to have schedules or classes being conducted online, keeping in mind the different aspects of online teaching. Asynchronous is where you plan activities in such a way that the students can do it at a later time. So that is how synchronous and asynchronous are different. Online education, now most of the available content that you see online into form of a course or into form of a MOOC or into form of a ready to read material is something which contributes to online education. Now, online education is most of the time self-paced. So you have to understand that we are not doing online education. We are right now currently involved in a remote teaching because of certain issues. Somebody has raised hand, Mr. Vivekanand. Whether we take question now?
No, ma'am. What we'll do is, all the questions will be on the chat.
Okay.
And maybe after your presentation at stretch, we will answer all the questions.
Okay.
Uma ma'am will make a note of the questions and she will answer.
Okay. So participants, kindly note, you can put the questions in the chat box, and once it is done, we'll get back to you. So it's very clear as to how remote teaching is different from online education. We always say, I'm taking online teaching. We may be going online, but we are not educating them online like a structured online course. We are teaching them at a very different structure remotely, because this is just an emergency temporary situation which is existing in our lives. It is not going to remain permanently. But what if the situation comes? Then we need to brace ourselves. We need to uh, uh, not only brace ourselves, we need to upgrade ourselves so as to become a part of this. Otherwise, we'll become redundant, and probably there is a probability where we may no longer, our services may no longer be required by our institution because we are not contributing to any such things as and when required. So for our own well-being, for our own safety, we need to equip ourselves with certain tools, certain expertise. I'm not saying that we have to become masters of all, but certain basic things that we really need to know, we need to know as teachers. Uh, Four aspects of remote teaching and learning. You need to understand what are the different tools that can support remote teaching and learning. Okay. Now, in this aspect, what you have to keep in mind is that the focus should be on pedagogy and learning. When you're considering this fact, the focus should be on pedagogy and learning, but technology should not be considered here, because once you consider technology over here, when you select a tool, your pedagogical focus will get shifted. So your focus should be on pedagogy and the learning. However, you cannot ignore the fact that these tools definitely require the teachers to become experts with respect to use of these tools. So teachers should be skillful and have certain experience of using this tool. The teacher can involve various approaches and blending of techniques when conducting a online remote teaching session. Now you have to understand this also, that there are many tools which are available free online. However, what happens generally is whenever we download a tool, we seldom read the privacy policy that comes with the tools. What we do is we just download it in our laptops, or even for that matter, our mobile phone apps. We seldom read the privacy policies. And then there may be a probability that phishing of our data may take place through certain tools. The data can, and you have to realize that our data has got a big market in the world. So you have to be very careful as to what tools you are using it, from what sources you are downloading it. There are many fake sites also offering those tools. So you have to realize that whenever you're downloading a tool, use the safe site of downloading it, not an insecure site. You have to go through a secure site. So the first aspect is tools to support remote teaching and learning. Now, interaction and engagement. Wow, this is something where most of us are lacking. Now, what exactly is here? In a classroom setup, we always have that face-to-face interaction taking place. Emotions, feelings, understandings all get transmitted immediately in the classroom setup. However, with this online scenario coming into our lives, there is a question about loneliness keeping in, because there's a lack of interaction. If the bandwidth is low, students generally put off their videos. Okay. Sometimes it so happens that the student is not in a condition to show a sad face. Maybe the student was a little dull, or maybe had some issues. But when such kind of student comes in a classroom, we can identify as teachers that there is some problem with our student. Now, this is what is lacking when it comes to online things. So there is an interaction issue. Now, how do you break that? Okay. How do you involve and engage all the students? Have discussion forums and make every student put across their point of view. Their viewpoint has to come. Now, what happens when they are expressing their viewpoints? There is a probability that there are certain hidden signals which you as a teacher would be able to identify and probably understand as to, yeah, there is some problem with respect to this particular student. and then you can later on have a one-to-one engagement with the student. So you have to realize that interaction and engagement is a big challenge when it comes to this approach of teaching, because you cannot really fathom whether the student is understanding or not, whether the student is actually present or not if the video is off. So it is really a big challenge. So you find out certain routines that you want your students to do, organize it and keep them engaged. Okay. Now the third work is individual and collaborative tools. Now, how does this come into picture? Now, if you want to engage your students, you should give them, each and every student should be given a task. Individually, the student should be given a task. And the student should be asked to prepare something on this task. And on the weekend, that is say on Saturday, you keep a session where you do not teach them yourself. You ask those students to present whatever they have prepared. This way, they'll feel included. They'll feel that there are people who are listening out to them. At the same time, ensure that they are given certain tasks where they will have to collaborate with each other. Now, in this way, what exactly is happening is, you are somehow indirectly inculcating the most important aspect of an individual's life, that is confidence. Confidence in self, that yes, even I can do it. At the same time, when the child collaborates with the other students, he or she develops a sense of team also. So what exactly happens is they learn how to work in a team. They learn how to respect the ideas. They learn how to respect the thoughts of others. So, you know, value inculcation also starts taking place out here, because it is really difficult to inculcate values when you don't know how the student is taking in front of the camera. IT requirements. The most important thing is IT requirement. Now, for remote teaching, I don't think so. Other than a strong internet connection, any other IT requirement, any other software or any other specific hardware is required. However, when you want to develop your content, you will have to require certain software. You will have to require, I mean, the laptop should have the right kind of configuration. The laptop should have the right kind of RAM. Then only it will support. Now, if you are not interested in making any content, just delivering your lecture, then a basic internet connection is fine. But then that way the student will not be interested in attending your lecture, because it becomes a approach where the teacher is only involved and teacher is talking and there is no engagement involved, there is no interaction involved. So you have to have the specific kind of tools, the specific kind of software or the hardware when it comes to IT requirements. So for remote teaching, these 4 aspects are absolutely important. I hope I'm not going very fast, Vivek.
No, ma'am, carry on.
Thank you so much. Again, what should be our focus? Our focus should be meaningful and mindful connect with our students. Now, with the new national education policy that has come, they have made it, the suggestions of the policy says that the student should be made to learn in the regional language or the mother tongue. Okay. Now, why do you think that must have come into picture? We all know that learning takes place better in a language which is spoken regularly at home. So at the formative years, when the child is growing up, bombarding the child with a foreign language immediately, how comfortable that would be is something that was thought upon, and that's how it has. Everybody will have their own viewpoint on this. I'm not patronizing the fact that people should agree to what I also agree. But this is what I feel that yes, till a certain age, if the child is exposed to a foreign language at intervals, it gives a kind of an edge over learning it properly. Now, what kind of exchange, the types of exchange? What exactly do you want to give it to your students? Types of learners, very important. Now, when we talk about types of learners in an online class, there are going to be 100 types of learners. In a class of 60, there are going to be some who are enthusiastic, some who are bored, some who are hyperactive, some who are, having, so there are so many things with respect to types of learners. Communication platforms. Now, these days, there are so many platforms of delivering your lectures has come. Whether you talk about Zoom, you talk about Google Meet, you talk about WebEx, you talk about Adobe, you talk about Jitsi, I mean, N numbers. But then there are certain institutions which have their own platforms where they have their own learning management system. So whether are you comfortable, whether are you well versed with the LMS that your institution has, whether your LMS has provision of having delivering something which you have developed. So all these things are definitely going to play an important role when you choose a platform to deliver your session. Now, planning for remote teaching, yes, because you have to think about your own home setup also. I'm sure right now, there are many of you who might have gone to the most strongest receptive corner of your homes or even outside your home so that you get a very strong connection. Okay. But then that strongest corner can be the most noisiest corner also of your house. Okay. So then what? So planning required. There is a lot of planning that is required. Electricity can be a major issue. Technological impairment can be a major issue. So if something like this comes, what should I do? I should equip myself to such an extent that even if I am not able to go online, whatever I wanted to deliver should be made available to my students offline as well, so that they can access it as and when they are able to access it. Managing online sessions, yes, it is a challenge where, students are not that friendly is what we assume, but students are more technology savvy than most of us. Majority of the session, we have to request to participants, please mute your mic, please mute your mic, please mute your mic. But then it becomes a challenge to the moderator or the host to keep on muting people. So when your session is going on, how do you manage online sessions? Whether you should have somebody, another teacher or an assistant with you who can take care of your presentation or maybe take care of your other logistics with respect to online sessions. So plan it and manage it accordingly. This is, I guess you all can relate to all these icons. Now these icons, we eat, sleep and drink these icons these days because we use most of them these days. Things that I had never heard of, I've been using. And yes, it is challenge to learn something new because yes, when you start aging, your gray matter cannot accept new things that readily. So it is a challenge. And as I told at the beginning, they expect teachers to become the superpowers these days of knowing everything online. Not possible. What you should know is maybe limited things, maybe one or two things, but you should be able to use those one and two things to the best possible capacity for your sessions, so that your sessions are interesting, your content is delivered, and you also find the connection being established between you and your students. Annapurna ji, can we have a Jamboard activity over here, so that, because I know it's the participants right now might be thinking that she is telling all those things that we know. So can we just have a Jamboard activity if Annapurna is here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yes,
I hope I'm audible. Yeah, I'm here.
Yes, yes, you are. Please, Annapurna.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you,
Annapurna
Deep.
ji has yeah, she has agreed at a short notice, and she's expert in this. I've learned so many things from her, so I guess she's the right person to even tell about this. So Annapurna ji, please.
Nothing that you have learned. I have learned a lot from you. So we are, I mean, it's always this going on, learning together. So I'll just share a jam with you all. So what you need to do is just go and type in the sticky note in the Jamboard. What all tools have you been using as of now? Okay. So I'll just share the link of the Jamboard. You have to just copy this link, click on this link, and it will take you to the Jamboard page. What we want you to do is to type out. There will be a sticky note on the extreme left. You have to choose the sticky note and type out what tools have you been using till now as regards to online teaching. Is that fine, Dr. Deepa?
Yeah, yeah. Annapurna ji, should I stop my share or is it okay?
I think they will need to refer to these icons here. So
Yeah.
let it be.
Okay. So we give them some time to do that.
Yes, yes. We have a few people here already.
Yeah, so what I'll suggest is you share the Jamboard so that people can see the real time editing being done. So I'll stop
Okay.
this share
Then
from
I
my end
guess
and
you
you
have
can
to
share.
stop sharing.
Yeah, I'll do that so that you can take over. Yeah.
Yeah.
See, this is what,
Let me
you know, when two subject teachers want to come together, you know, maybe you can,
Yeah. Uh,
yeah, please do it.
yeah, I'll just show them how to use the sticky note, and I'm sure I feel they do not know it. So here, please see, you have this sticky note here, the fourth icon from the top in the extreme left. Just you got to click on this and type whatever you want along with your name on the sticky note. You can also change the colors, okay, and then save it. Like say if I say I just am typing my name, I'll just save it here. So and then type on the cancel so that you get these sticky notes here. Rest all things like yeah. Now it is okay. Now why we have 8 people here on the
Yeah,
yes,
so
Deepa ma'am.
the participants can write down the tools or the platforms that they use for their teaching. So see, this is a collaborative activity where, you know, you can involve your students also. You can give a topic to your students when you want to do brainstorming activity. Jamboard works absolutely fantastic. You know, you give them a topic, and you know, we really underestimate our students a lot, I guess. But then, as I said earlier, that they are probably much more updated, much more, you know, exposed to things around them, and their thought process goes on a completely different level. So I guess brainstorming can be done very comfortably using Jamboard, right, Madhuri ji?
Yes, yes. This is a wonderful tool for brainstorming tool. This is very nice. Now right now we are doing the same thing, right? Yeah, I see people using Google Classroom, Google Doc, Zoom, Canva, Google Classroom again. Yeah, Google Meet. Please use a sticky note instead of using a pen. And you can change the colors also. There are people using BizIQ, Testmos. Somebody has changed the background. Somebody has created a frame. So if you just undo those things, we'll get back all the things which done.
Madhuri ji,
Yeah. Yeah.
There is a question which says, can you show how to share a Jamboard? There is a share button. You can just show there.
Yeah. But then, yeah, is this in the purview of a session? So here we have the share button. If you all can see my screen, you will just press on this share button, and you'll get to share it with the people with with the email IDs also. If not, you can also, like, suppose I have to share this with Deepa herself, or say I'll have to share this with Vivek sir. So I'll be giving them the editing rights, not as the viewer rights, but I'll put them as editors and send them an email so that they can have an access to this and they can see this. Suppose you do not have the email now, like I have shared it now, you can go to the link, you can get the link and edit to people. Here, by default, it comes to the viewer mode. You can create editor link and then copy the link and share it with the people wherever you want. Like I shared the link with you on the chat box. The same way you can share it on WhatsApp or any of your groups wherever you're comfortable.
And
Is that
yes, there
fine,
was a question.
Deepa?
Yeah, it is fine. Thank you so much, Annapurna ji. There was a question whether Jamboard app is available for mobile. Yes, if you ask your students to go to Play Store, there is a Jamboard app. Students can download the Jamboard app and they can install it in their mobile phones as well. So yeah, Jamboard app is available for mobile phones. So you can ask your students to download that and keep it, because most of them are using smartphones, either theirs or their parents, so that app can be definitely be downloaded. So this activity becomes a very good brainstorming activity, sharing enough ideas, pooling enough ideas, you know, contributing towards a common goal. This is a very good kind
Yeah.
of an approach.
Yeah, I think, Deepa, we should also now take some reflections from the participants, how they are feeling using the Jamboard.
Yes.
So I'll stop sharing my screen here. I think we have done enough of this.
Yep.
We can also talk to the participants and know their reflections, how they feel using this kind of a brainstorming session. So with that, I'll stop sharing my screen as well.
Yeah, I'll start my sharing once again so that I can go back to my presentation.
So participants, if you have anything to share with us regarding your experiences on using a Jamboard or anything else, like regarding using the tools, you're free to do so.
Shall I move ahead, Madhuri ji?
Yeah, I think we can. I
Yeah,
don't think anybody. You
as
can unmute yourself and talk if you feel like. So
Vivek said
I
that
don't
we'll
see
take that in
anybody.
the end. Shall we take that in the
Okay.
end? Yeah.
Yeah, we can. I think we
So
can continue.
the most important thing is you have to maintain the rhythm of learning. Okay. As I told you, the two modes of communication, synchronous and asynchronous. Asynchronous is where we all know that something wherein the teacher is not online. However, the teacher develops content or material and makes it available to the student, and the student uses it as per his or her own convenience, as per his or her own pace of learning, because not all students can possibly understand at the same pace. So, you know, it is really imperative that we as teachers try to develop quality content. I'm not saying that we have to make fancy content. Our content can be the most simplest way of content, but then it should be made in such a way that it becomes A, self-explanatory, and B, the student should be able to learn it at his or her own rate, her own pace. Synchronous, however, is what is going right now. What we did right now, the Jamboard activity was a synchronous activity where you are also online, I am also online, and we are doing that activity together. Okay. So you have to understand the difference between activities that you can conduct when you are online and activities which you want to conduct offline to keep your participants engaged. so as to ensure that learning never stops. See, our main motto or main idea is to ensure that learning takes place. The entire crux is learning should take place. How it takes place is what we are supposed to think on, what we should be doing on. So we move to the next slide. Yes, synchronous real-time sessions. We know when we want to conduct. We should know when, because as I told you, planning. When, where, what kind of platform I'm going to use, where am I going to conduct it? It is for whom? It is for which class of mine, whether it is for my colleagues, whether it is for my 5th standard class, whether it is for my 12th standard class, whether it is for my postgraduate classes, I should be knowing who, how I'm going to conduct it, what is going to be my duration. And the most important thing is why. Why is it necessary for me to conduct an online session or a real-time session on the topic that I have chosen? So here comes the aspect that whenever you plan an online session, select topics which you think you can do complete justice with an online session, because you do not want to create any confusion in the minds of your students by selecting a topic which may become complicated when you're delivering it online. So you have to understand that why. Okay. Now, here at least we come face to face, albeit virtually only, but we come face to face. So what I always suggest my students is that they should keep their videos on. Now, the only problem is when they keep their videos on, the backgrounds at times can be a reason for people to get distracted. Okay. So when the video is on, the student knows that the teacher is keeping an eye on me, and that will make him engaged. But at the same time, the student may feel that his privacy is being encroached upon by the teacher, because not every student may have the possibility of having a big house with a secluded, isolated space. Okay. So there are so many things which are associated. So you have to keep in mind all these things when you're conducting your synchronous session. You do not want to be become an embarrassment for yourself, and B, you do not want your students to also feel embarrassed about anything that is going on in their respective homes. So keep all these things in mind when you are doing a synchronous real-time sessions. Okay. Asynchronous, as I told you, again, we need to know when, where, who, how, and why. Now, both synchronous and asynchronous have got their own pros and cons. Okay. So whatever are the cons of asynchronous is being taken care of in the synchronous sessions. And whatever are the limitations of synchronous sessions are being taken care of in asynchronous session. So this is where we always suggest that teachers should go for blended teaching approaches, where you plan your sessions synchronously as well as asynchronous. That means limitations of one can become the strengths of the other mode of your teaching. So plan it. Think of blending your session. Think of what I say as, when you are breaking down your topics, identify what you can do asynchronously, what you can do synchronously. And if you want to do synchronously, what are things are required? And if you want to do asynchronously, what are things are required? So planning and execution and implementation and follow. All four things are very, very important over here. As I told you, e-learning is a blend of synchronous and asynchronous communication. You cannot think of only having, sometimes teachers feel, I don't feel like developing my own content. These tools just give me a nightmare. I don't think I will be able to prepare a Canva presentation or maybe a animation. No, I will conduct all my sessions online only. let the students do it on their own. No, this is not something that can work in our favor. So synchronous, asynchronous, and all these things are dependent upon the LMS that you are using. Your LMS should allow you to go both the ways. If not, then think of which LMS would you be using to present your content. At the start, we were talking about types of exchange. We completed types of communication, types of exchange. Content and your information should be through which LMS? Planning. Now, what you should do, especially these times, is you involve your students also. After your first session is over, or after your 2 or 3 sessions are over, have a live chat session with your students. Ask them, how are they finding the session? You can ask them to give you an honest opinion as to what they would be want to be implemented through the online session. Now, this will help you to go for your further planning. So you have group chats, you have live sessions, you know, you do one-to-one support, you do one-to-one, you know, WhatsApp calls, because sometimes it so happens that not all students may be comfortable in speaking out on live chat. So you can go on one-to-one WhatsApp, group collaboration, individual, collaborative activity. So exchange, information has to reach. Types of exchange, group and individual collaboration. Now we would, one of the other aspect was, what are the different types of learners? I'm sure I will just give you a minute's time to look at these different types of learners that we come across when we, we have certain students who are confident learners. Sometimes we do call them as overconfident. There is a difference between a little overconfidence and confident learners. So they believe that they are capable of anything. Yes, we should identify such confident learners and channelize their energy in the right way. Overachievers. These are those students who want to keep on gaining information. They are like voracious knowledge gatherers. They keep on asking questions. They keep on, but then at times, as teachers, we sometimes do not have answers for such overachiever students also. But their zeal, their enthusiasm to seek information is not wrong. So what we can do is, we have to get back to them with their kind of knowledge that they are seeking. Unmotivated learners. I guess there are so many of them. Even at times when we have to attend certain online sessions, we also have days where we don't feel motivated enough to become a part of that. Our students can be also like that. Okay. And no matter how much interesting their sessions are, they'll still feel unmotivated. So you have such kind of students, and then you have motivated learners also. Now there's a difference between confident learners, overachievers, and motivated learners. Okay, overachievers are the ones who are at the place where they seek information. However, motivated learners may not be having sound knowledge, but they are always eager to learn. They may not say that we know everything, but they're self-motivated, or even some amount of extrinsic motivation can push them to acquire information, to work hard. So we have motivated learners. We have emotional learners also. Yes, we can't be denying the fact that there are students who are emotional, and they would want to feel attachment. See, I'll give you a classic example that in my institution where I teach, at times there are certain teachers who say that students don't sit for my session. And then there is another teacher where the attendance is 100%. Obviously, there can be a possibility that the student feels that emotional kind of an attachment, because he or she likes that instructor or the teacher, okay? Or the way the teacher is delivering the content can make the student feel attached to the subject. So even if I'm giving my best, the student does not feel emotionally attached to either me as an individual or the content that I'm delivering, he'll be emotionally detached from my session most of the times. Dependent learners, as the name says, they are always dependent. They never have the trust that they can do anything, they can achieve anything. Okay. And in spite of them being capable, they'll always be asking others opinion, help to to actually complete their tasks. So dependent learners, risk takers, these are the ones like those category of students who say, it's okay, I'll try to do it differently. Madam has told to do it this way, I'll try to do differently. Let me see what happens. So these are risk takers. They definitely love challenges. They do not want to live in that safe space or that emotional space of feeling secured. No, they are always exchanging ideas and they would love to be involved in complex situations. So I'm sure we have these 7 kind of online learners you may have come across, or if you have not started as yet, you will definitely come across these 7 types. And I'm sure there can be more than these 7. I'm just listing out the ones that I feel is correct. The same thing. Now here, Annapurna ji. Hello.
Yes, yes,
Hello?
Deepa. Yes, Deepa.
I guess we can
Yes, Dr.
include
Deepa.
can we include an activity of Testmos here?
Yeah, definitely. I'm ready with that.
Yeah, because I'm
So-
sure that there is a reason, there is a need to break again and involve them in a certain activity.
Yeah, sure.
See why?
So we are sharing.
Just a
We are
minute.
sharing us. Yes, Dr. Deepa. Please go.
Why this is being done is scientifically it is told that after 29th minute, if I'm not wrong, I may be wrong also, the capacity of an individual to actually understand keeps on diminishing. Okay, so you need to have those icebreakers, you need to have those activities which can jolt them out of that complacency which they might enter after that certain time of your lecture. Okay, so if our sessions are continuously 3 sessions, 4 sessions continuously, then there is a possibility that the student may feel bored. So include an activity. So Annapurna ji, take all to you.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Deepa. So here in the chat box, I've shared a link of a small questionnaire with you. So you just need to just go through the questions, very simple questions. It's just to make sure that all of us are on the same page. So So I've shared the test on the of the Testmos. You can just click on this link. You can copy the link, I think, on a different on a new new tab, and you can new window, and then you can do it as well.
Shall I stop my share, Annapurna ji, in case you want to show anything?
No, for now you go on, because let me see how much the link is not working. They say, just let me check.
This is working. I tested it myself. It is working.
It's working, ma'am. The dot you have added, no? So
yeah. People
Okay, I removed that dot as well.
yeah,
Okay. I've removed that as well. Just see. Yes. Then I will share the results of this, and let us see how it looks when you people are taking some online test.
I'll stop my share.
Yeah.
Just a minute. I'll stop share.
Yes, Dr. Deep.
Yeah, you can.
So here I'll share my screen and I'll show you while you're taking a something like this, a test in a synchronous mode, how much fun it can be for the students as well. Like, so as soon as I click on the results, so if he has completed the test, one Apurva has already completed the test, and we can see the results directly here. So as and when you get the responses, those responses will be going on adding. So these kind of activities in between any session will also ensure that the students are still with us. It's not that they have switched off their video and doing something else. So including this kind of any kind of a collaborative activity or a small kind of an assessment tool on which we get to know how much they have learned or how much they're following the session keeps the children alert as well. And it would also be a kind of a rest for the facilitator as well. Instead of like facilitator going on speaking, we can just rest, take to few moments to gather our strength and again continue with the session. Meanwhile, the students will be working on any kind of an activity which we give. So here we have 11 responses, if you can see my screen. Now that has increased to 15. So the beauty of this particular tool is that it will also tell us the average time and how much time the people have completed their taking this particular test. So the person who has completed in the shortest time in 49 seconds is Apurva. So I can get to know in how much time she has completed this, and all others also timing is there. So the start time, the end time, and the percentage scores, and what all questions they got completely correct and what is partially correct. So all these responses we can get, and we can save this complete chart with us for our record purposes as well. So this is one of my personal favorite assessment tool, especially for assessment for learning during a synchronous session. Now this is not a very good tool for using it in an asynchronous session. Deepa madam, can you just shed some light upon this?
Yeah, see, the challenge is what tools can I use synchronously and what tools can I use asynchronously. Now, when it comes to assessment, like there was a question in the chat that somebody had written that related apps should be there. Okay, so that's what when I was talking about remote teaching. When you talk about an IT requirement, whether your laptop or your mobile phone supports or has that much storage to have all those apps being installed or not. Now, Testmos goes completely online. Okay, you just have to have your account in testmos.com. Okay, Annapurna can show you where you can actually, so you just have to have an account, but this goes very well with synchronous. If somebody will ask me whether we can use this asynchronously, yes, you can download the Testmos question, okay, and you can make it available to your students in an asynchronous mode if you want to evaluate them. Okay, so you can do that. But this works wonderfully when you want to do a real-time evaluation of what you were teaching. So what you should do is the content that you have planned for your session, you prepare your test on that content in advance, and when you feel that it is time that students are feeling a little, probably you feel that there is a disconnect that is happening, release this activity, share the link, release this activity, and see whether the students were involved or not. Because the answers would actually give you a real-time feedback about how much the students have understood what you have taught or not. And whether the student was paying attention or, so this way you will ensure that, the student is kept engaged in the session. When the student knows that the teacher can conduct a surprise test anytime or maybe ask questions anytime. So don't disclose this at the start of your session. For the first session, keep it a surprise, release this test as a surprise test. So next session onwards, your students will be more cautious when they are attending your session, because they will realize that I have to listen. Otherwise, suddenly she'll release a test, and if I score less, I'll be taken to task. Okay. So the first session should be a surprise thing for them. Do not reveal everything that you're going to do, but however, it should be a part of your planning. A planning which you can do individually, which you can do, which you can share it with your colleagues also. I may know something and I would want my colleagues also to incorporate into their session. I should be there for them. So have that kind of activity also. So testmos.com. Now I'm telling you, this is not the only tool which you can use. There are so many different online real-time assessment tools which you can use. And the beauty of this is you can download this, you can save it. So if the school demands that, did you do evaluation or assessment of what you were teaching? Yes, here is the proof. Here is the file. Here is the real-time analysis of what I have done. So for you also work fantastically, because see, conceptual knowledge, you cannot evaluate when there is a subjective based test that is involved, whether the student has actually understood the concept or not. So for that, you need to have certain MCQ based questions, or, one word questions where you actually are pointing out towards a particular concept only. So utilize this test. I hope I was clear enough as to how people can, and believe me, you don't need any training to learn how to use a TestMoz. Most of the tools are self-explanatory in nature. I always tell myself, my friends, and my students also, the best way to learn anything is to explore it. Self-exploration is the best way, because you might end up doing certain mistakes and then you will realize, okay, this was the mistake and this is how I found out the solution. When you get stuck up, there is always Google which helps you. Okay, these days Google has become the best teacher of everybody, but let me be clear here also, not everything that comes on Google can be considered as authentic always, unless you are visiting the right site. Okay, there are hundreds of sites wherein the data can be misleading. So you should be able to go to the right site. So for teachers, I would suggest that use testmos.com. It is useful for us. Participants, if you want the list of tools that can be used, I'll be sharing a document with the organizers. They'll email you the different list of tools that you can use for different kind of activities. Right now, talking about all the tools would be very difficult because there are hundreds and thousands of tools. So we'll be sharing a document with the organizers. They'll email it to you for sure. And then you can explore those tools on your own. So I guess this is clear. The TestMoz part is clear. Okay.
Yeah, so I'll stop sharing my screen.
Yeah, I'll just go to my screen once again. Okay, so we have those types of learners who can, you have to identify them because we have to cater to them. Now, communication tools. Now we have come across so many interactive platforms, like this Zoom is a kind of an interactive platform only. Okay. Google Meet is an interactive platform, or even there are so many LMS like, Moodle and all, where they are trying to incorporate live sessions also. Earlier, there was no provisions to have meetings being embedded, but now they are giving extensions and add-ons. The only problem is we do not know what are the add-ons that are available and what are the extensions that are available, which I can download in my laptop so that I can have a better. So Say for example, people who are using Google Meet, there are so many extensions in Google Meet. You have a Meet timer, you have a Meet attendance, then you have you know, kind of a you know, you can use Meet attendance. There are two types of Meet attendance, so you don't have to track which student was present and all. You just have to install that add-on, the extension, and the rest will be taken care of. So select your tool appropriately. Which social media platform you are going to use, whether you are going to host a live session to YouTube if you do not have an LMS, or a Facebook, you depend. Whether you're going to make your content available through your YouTube channel or your institutional YouTube channel when it comes to asynchronous. So develop the content, create a playlist, and upload your content in the playlist. Okay. Now, the question comes now, there is a word called as here Khan Academy. Now, Khan Academy is not the only online available education portal. You have so many different apps and so many different systems where, you know, content is freely available. So you will say, why should I make my own content when everything is available online? My argument here is, I agree that everything is available online. But when these people develop their content, they keep global context in mind. They are not thinking of a local context which may be applicable to you or your school or your student. So their approach is a global approach. Now, what you as a teacher, you are supposed to do is, you can look at the content, curate the content and create your own as per your local requirement, as per the requirement of your student, as per the requirement of your school. I cannot be telling my students to read everything from Khan Academy. No, my syllabus does not allow my student to study that much. So what do? I look at the content, I curate the content, and I make my own content, or I edit the content in such a way which suits my syllabus requirement. So please, you do not have to always create original content. Let me be very clear here also. You don't have that much of time to create your new content every time. There is a plethora of content available online. Pandora's box, as we say. You just have to open, and the only thing is you have to identify whether that content is available for free use or not. Because if it is not available for free use, and if you are going to use it without attributing the original people, you might land in trouble. So you have to understand that also. Not everything that is available online is free. Everything is protected online. Every single thing, even a small symbol, is protected online. So whether can I use it or not? So do a little bit of exploration of content. Identify 5-6 different platforms, different channels where your content is available, and then use that content to create your own content for asynchronous mode. TED Talks, now for school children, I don't know how much of TED Talks can be utilized, but yes, when you go to higher classes, okay, when you go for PG classes and all, and there are so many beautiful TED Talks being taken on topics, you can involve that as a part. Now, TED Talks are also not freely available. However, they allow you to use that if you attribute them. Okay, so you have to understand. So on YouTube, if you check for Creative Commons attribution videos, you will get Creative Commons free license videos for your use. So check for that. And then yes, you have a National Geographic channel, Discovery channels, History channels, Google Earth. Incorporate these things for your sessions. I want to teach my student the continents of Earth. I should not create, there is so many videos available online which can make my session more interesting. I should just be able to know which link I should be sharing with my students online when I'm doing it. Why should I again put in my time, my effort to duplicate a content which is already available? What I can do is, I can maybe utilize it into a manner and integrate in my session in such a way that it is useful for my students. So please plan and do not create for every topic your own content. It is next to impossible. With your lesson plannings, with your homework, with your household chores, with your kids having their online sessions, laptop only one at home, how much time will you have that laptop to develop your content? Keep all those things in mind. This is a challenging situation. Not everybody is privileged of having 4 laptops at home or 4 computers at home. There are some who have no access to laptops. They work only on their mobile phones. So there are mobile phone versions also of apps which you can use. So people don't know whether I can use a mobile phone to teach. Yes, there are mobile phone extensions also which can make your learning very easy, your teaching very easy. So search for those things. I'll be sharing that document with the organizers. You'll come to know with that. Interactive platforms, as I told you, Skype, Zoom, and all those things. Okay. Social media platforms, blog. Okay, blog is but then you have to understand this also, that for going to social media platforms, you need to have a strong internet. Okay, if you don't have an internet, your things go. So what you do is when you write a blog, your blog is available online. Create an offline version of a blog and share it with your students so that whenever they want to read, they can download it and they can read. Now, these are education specific platforms where, you can have your own account created. Edmodo is a very widely used platform where, specifically education related stuff you can have. So you can create your own content. If your institution does not have an LMS, you select which learning platform you want to use. There are hundreds of them, and you select the one that suits your requirement, is easy to access, not only for you, for your students as well. The complexity of a learning platform can hamper the entire teaching learning process. So the learning platform should be very easy to use. So select the right kind of learning platform. This is a very important term, using social media effectively. Unfortunately, social media has got its own drawbacks also, because there was an article recently in newspaper where the teacher was being bullied by a student. The student had created memes of the teacher of conducting an online session and had posted it, and it was viral. Okay, that is called as ineffective approach or a wrong approach of social media. So there is a fear in teachers as to whether I come online or not. What if my online lecture is being recorded by a student secretly and they create some kind of, they manipulate or they misuse my lecture. So using your social media effectively, reach out, have posts and regular updates of video, instructional tools. It can use helpful for professional development. You can use social media for assessment. Vivek sir is going to have a session tomorrow about developing effective facilitation skills, where he will actually emphasize on the soft things, soft skills, or the characteristics that are required for a teacher, so as to not only tide over this particular thing, but as teachers in general, which he'll be taking up tomorrow. So you use your social media effectively. How can YouTube or FB be used in education? As I told you, you can use YouTube and FB both synchronously as well as asynchronously. Synchronously, when you go live, when you schedule your lecture and you go live, and asynchronously when you have developed a content and you post it in the playlist. So you can create your FB channel also, an FB channel and an FB list. You create an FB list only for your own classes. Suppose I teach MSc Part 1 Bioanalytical. So I allow only my 20 bioanalytical students to join my sessions there online. There is a moderator there who will not allow others to join. And whenever it is being played, only those people would be able to join my live session. No unwanted people would be able to join my live session. And the same thing can then go into an archive on FB. And if any student has missed my session, he or she can play that video all over again and can get back to the same. So you can use YouTube and FB synchronously as well as asynchronously. There are so many words like flipped learning, podcast, active engagement, different terms. It will take another session to keep on talking and discussing about all these things. My only crux is, if you want to use YouTube or FB for education, create your own playlist, have the participants, only the registered participants to join your FB live sessions so that no unwanted people can join your session. And then you can make the content available asynchronously also to them. This was the assessment tools, TestMoss. These are just the screenshots of few of the assessment tools. Now, this is something very important, H5P. A beautiful, again, tool, which is an interactive tool. If the organizers permit for 5 minutes, we can have this also, if it's fine with the organizers.
Yes, ma'am, please.
Yeah, because I want the participants to get an exposure about this particular tool, and so that they'll be able to at least explore it on their own. So Annapurna ji, can you just have an H5P thing done?
Yes, Dr. Deepa. I'm just sharing the link in the chat box.
Yeah, I'll just stop it.
There's a word. Yes. There's one word search activity which we have created. The link is too long, but you have to bear with it. So you have to copy this link on a new tab and open this, where you get a word search activity, and you can search for the words which are given there. And this is a very interesting activity. So
can you just
over to you.
Link and share it?
Yeah, I've shared the link.
Yeah, share the screen when
and
you click the link so that everybody knows that how the link looks.
I've shared the link in the chat box. You want me to share my screen and show it to them?
Yes. So that the ones who are not clicking on it can actually see how it is going on.
Yeah. So here you have the link of this whole thing. So this is the link which I have shared with you, and this is the activity which you will be seeing. You will have certain words given down here which are related to this session. You just have to find out those words, search the words here and mark it. Okay. Like say if I say collaboration, so I'll just mark this. So the word gets marked, and as soon as I mark this word, it becomes green here. So I don't have to search for those words again. So I have 15 words like that. And there's a timer also, and you can check it. It is a self-check exercise. So this is how it looks. H5P has many options. This is one of those very interesting options. But then you can make interactive videos where the video stops in between and a question pops up. That is the thing which, at the school level, all the students really enjoy. I've seen many school teachers loving this application. And then you have drag and drop options. So you have assessments which are very different from the traditional assessment, like say it MCQs or tick the correct answer. All these are fine. So even apart from that, you have many activities where you can label a particular diagram. Okay, so these are very interesting things which the children would really like, and H5P is something which every teacher should explore. I mean, it's my personal favorite. There are hundreds of options available, and it's worth it. Like if you really spend a couple of hours exploring the tool, also not an issue. You will definitely find it worth it. Should I stop sharing my screen, Dr. Deepa? Yeah, is the link?
Yeah, we'll be sharing the
Please, ma'am.
link. The participants are requesting if the organizers can share the link to register email. So Vivek sir, I hope that can be taken care of, the link of H5P. Okay. See, why this is done is, again, this is an activity which can help to break the, it's like the monotony that can creep in, that can seep in because of the lack of enthusiasm, or maybe the topic itself is not so interesting for the student. So at a particular point of time, saturation comes and the student is not interested. So have this. It can also help you, and have something which is related to your content. Okay. So that learning takes us, the student comes to know, okay, these are the words which I have to, which are related to the topic that I have studied. Now, when the student actually reads the topic, that's where he or she realizes, oh yes, this was something which I had heard of. And then the, the relation becomes very easy when it comes to content. So H5P, now people will always wonder that why only online. I'm saying it again, there are many tools which can be used for assessment offline as well. Like how Annapurna said, that videos, there are certain tools wherein you can have a video based quiz being made, incorporated, like Edpuzzle, if I'm not wrong. You can develop your Edpuzzle content, have some questions in it, and whenever the student is watching that Edpuzzle video, he will come across that question, will appear that question, and can. So it can be made available to the student even offline. Okay, but then certain things are online and you cannot give away with the complete online version of the things. However, even H5P is trying to come out with versions which can be very comfortably be used offline as well. So eventually all these tools will be made offline also. So that will be a boon for all of us where asynchronous sessions are concerned. We have then, these are H5P screenshots only. Kahoot, another assessment tool. It's like a gaming tool. Now children, basically small, young kids who cannot go for a structured quiz, they can definitely go for a Kahoot quiz, which is again an assessment tool. It works like a game. Okay, it's like a game. So children these days are too much into gaming tools. So use Kahoot wherever you want to incorporate the gaming approach for your students. So Kahoot, explore it.
I can actually answer that question regarding what is common in what is normal. I think it's the representation of certain groups and
I hope I can go ahead.
Yes, ma'am.
Yep. So you can look at assessment tools for Kahoot. Now, why assessment is so very important? Yes, because if you talk about the entire teaching process, whether learning has taken place or not is solely dependent upon the assessment. If there is no assessment tool, okay, you will not come to know whether the teaching was proper or not, whether the student has understood or not. In order to achieve that understanding that the student has understood, the concept has been readily understood by the student, use an assessment. Now the problem is, in our traditional setup, assessment tools are used to judge the grades. Okay, we assess the students on the basis of their examination that they appear for at the end of their first semester, and we assess them on the basis of their exam. However, if you have such assessment tools incorporated, so you can do a slow and steady assessment of the concept that the student has understood. Not a one-time exam that is conducted at the end of a semester, because there can be many reasons back then during the examination for the student to not be able to give his best. However, whenever you are doing your regular sessions, these things, these assessment tools definitely help. So we have Kahoot as an assessment tool. Hot potatoes. Now, this is something which you can use offline. I use hot potatoes to a very large extent in my classrooms. Even for my PG students, I use this. So hot potatoes, it's a good tool for assessment, conceptual, and even you can have a typed answer or you can evaluate the students accordingly. So you just have to share the link. So as I was talking about Edpuzzle, another assessment tool, Edpuzzle. Now, the only thing that I would like to highlight over here is I will come across, I'll show you hundreds of tools for assessment or for content creation or for developing content. But if you do not explore these tools, you will not be able to understand it. I am not trying to tell you that you use hot potatoes. I'm not trying to tell you that you use Edpuzzle because I am using it. No. You need to explore the tool yourself. And you have to understand whether, if I am teaching a 3rd, 4th, and a 5th grade class, whether this will suit me, my classes or not. If I'm teaching a postgraduate class, whether this will be suitable for my classes or not. So explore. The mantra is to explore the tool. So explore the tool. Now this was the collaboration tool Jamboard. This is the icon of Jamboard. And for brainstorming, this is one of the most finest tool that you can use, collaboration work. When teachers are also, like when there is an online meeting going on and the principal or the coordinator says that we want to conduct an activity, kindly pull in your ideas, share a Jamboard, ask them to pull in their ideas instead of everybody going, you know, at the same time, 4 people will start speaking. That will be kind of a chaos. So share a Jamboard and tell them to post their ideas. Once their ideas are posted, then you can ask them one by one. Okay, Annapurna, you have written this. What do you mean to say by this? Or maybe Vivek, you have written this. What is your suggestion or what is your idea? So use collaboration tools whenever you're going to conduct a meeting where you want brainstorming to be done, when you want ideas to be pulled in, not only for your students, even for your regular meetings as well. Another collaboration tool, concept board, a completely different approach where you want to develop a content. So if I say that what are the different attributes of counseling, what are the different types of counseling skills? So I create one and then I ask the students to write down what they mean by counseling skills. So you create a concept board. Now these are all Google tools. Okay, so you can, all those who are having G Suite or Google account, they'll be able to find this under their G Suite account itself. So explore this concept board, and let me tell you, it is self-learning in nature. There cannot be anything that, I always believe that there is nothing wrong. It is the absence of right. There is nothing wrong. So maybe we are not doing things right. So I cannot say that I'm doing it wrong. I'm not doing it the right way is what I mean to say. So there is another way to do the same. So you look for exploring the tools. Padlet. Yeah, this is something where there's an app which is available. Right now also, if people have Play Store on their phone, they can download this Padlet. It's an app, and again, a very widely used brainstorming app. I have it in my mobile. Most of my students have it in their mobile. So Padlet is one of the tools that you can use for collaboration, sharing of ideas, sharing of images and anything. Believe me, it is also a wonderful tool. Google Slides. The one that I'm using right now is a Google Slide only. Collaboration tools. If you see, there is an option of share. So if I am preparing a Google slide and if I share it with Vivek or Madhuri or Uma madam or Mini madam right now, they'll be able to edit my slide. Okay. Why I'm saying this is, like, if there are 2 mathematics teachers who are teaching the same content to different classes, do not duplicate your content. Prepare one only. Collaborate with each other. Okay. And use the same thing for all your classes. So that will avoid A, duplicacy of your content, and B, maybe when you pooling together, the brains work differently and maybe things will turn out to be better. So Google Slide, you can, and Google Slide is different than PowerPoint. Okay, so kindly check this under Google G Suite only. So you will get Google Slides also. Okay, it looks like a PowerPoint presentation only, but it is a slide thing so that you can share it. Okay, and it has got so many options to, you know, have images, have all those things. And if you want to import it, you can import it into a different version also. So collaboration, use Google Slides. It will avoid duplicacy, waste of time, easy to use, sharing of ideas, making your content look much more better. So use Google Slides. I'm not saying use 100 thing. Just make your content using Google Slide only if you want to make your content. But make it collaboratively so that it becomes easier. You can even involve your students in making your Google Slides. It all depends upon you. Now this is a mind map, schematic mind, again, concept map, collaboration tool, brainstorming. It is not, one cannot use it so readily for lower classes. Okay. However, when you have a higher education, when you have a B.Ed college where you want teachers to come out with, so all those teachers who are into teacher education can go for a concept map, again a collaboration tool. Then you have a word cloud. Now we always say, wow, what a beautiful word cloud is there. But then you have a tool called as word cloud, which will help you to make your word cloud like this, what you see on the slide. You just have to type your word, give the settings, and it comes. So have word clouds. Not everything that you need to present to your students should be very bland. Like, you know, it's like how a food tastes, like how khichdi, if you don't add anything to it, it is very bland. But the minute when you add a little bit of tadka to it, it completely changes the taste of khichdi, correct? So even a person who does not like khichdi might end up eating it. Why? Because it is appealing to the taste bud. Same ways, what the student sees, the visual appeal is very important. It should be visually appealing. Then only I'll feel like listening to it. It should appeal to me. Oh yeah, this looks beautiful. Okay, ma'am is going to talk about emotional schooling. And these are the different terms associated with emotional schoolings. Okay, good. So have a visually appealing content also created. LMS, I'm not getting into details of LMS. So these are the different LMS. Now, most of us are using Google Classroom. All those who are having G Suite account or even general Gmail account have got Google Classrooms. Okay, the only problem with a normal Gmail account and a G Suite account is in a G Suite account, you have now a provision of embedding a Google Meet also. However, in a normal Gmail account, you cannot have a Google Meet incorporated there. So that's the only difference. The rest, everything, most of the features, Google is making it free. We have Canvas, we have Moodle, we have Blackboard, we have Edmodo. This is just a very small list. You have got hundreds of LMS, but I will always suggest use an LMS which is comfortable with you as well as for your student use. It should be easy to use, understand, and handle. And Google Classroom is one of the most widely used LMS, which is easy to handle. So Google Classroom, the famous icon of Google Classroom. Yes, there is an app available of Google Classroom. So if a student does not have a computer or does not have a laptop, even on smartphone, the student can go into Play Store, download a Google Classroom app and can install it. So Google Classroom can be used. Canvas, again an app. Moodle. Now this is a LMS which actually takes a lot of time to understand. Even I took a lot of time to understand, but once you know it, it is very easy. Okay. This is a Mookit LMS by IIT Kanpur. Mookit LMS. This LMS is a very user-friendly LMS. However, they have limitations as to how many courses they can allow. Now, this why I'm saying LMS. People who are developing their own course, they should go for this external LMS, or else you create your Google Classrooms and make your content available through Google Classroom. Don't opt for an external LMS. Open Learn. So these are different LMS. Edmodo, very widely used. Pressbooks. All those who are into higher education, if you create an account, if you want to use an interactive ebook, Pressbook is an place where you can have, but you have to understand this also, that majority of the tools are available as free version as well as paid version. I would not suggest you to go for paid version. Utilize the free version to the fullest. Don't go for the paid version. Select some other tool for your other requirements. So you have ebooks. Now, before you actually go, these are the tips when you go online. You please schedule your sessions properly and you share link with continuous reminders. Now, if you're having a Google Meet, you can integrate that with the Google Calendar, and Google Calendar automatically gives you a reminder that you have a session at that much time. So you have a schedule your lessons. You should always join early. A teacher cannot join after the students have joined. A teacher ideally should join at least 15 minutes in advance. And you have to check the appropriate lighting. If the teacher is not visible, the students will feel disconnected. Have icebreakers. Do not start your sessions blah 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 immediately. Create a environment where the students are a little comfortable. Maybe crack a educational joke only, not a random joke, an educational joke only, so that students will relate it. Yes, this fourth point is very important. Record. Right now our session is being recorded. Why it is being recorded? Because all those who were unable to join the session can definitely get back to the recording and can see what are things are there. So your sessions should always be recorded, and you upload your recorded version on your YouTube channels if you have, or on your LMS platform, or on your Google Classroom. Create spaces for students to speak. Like right now here we have a space of chat box. Why? Because we want the participants to respond. Same ways, have discussion forums, have live interactions, have one-to-one interactions, so that the students know that they are going to be included, they are going to be engaged. And yes, end your meeting with an informal talk. The informal talk, when I say, again, I'm saying nothing, not something like which can, give away a wrong message. An informal talk is with respect to maybe their health, maybe their mental well-being, maybe their activity that they are doing, something that feels that the teacher has conducted a session, but the teacher is concerned about me also as an individual. So have that kind of informal talk. Ask them about how was their day, what did they do, and motivate them, because not everybody is strong enough to tide over stormy situations the way you and I can. So our students feel the same. So have an informal talk. So these are some tips which you can utilize for going online. And for effective remote teaching, have a routine and repetition. You should know when you have to repeat. You have to avoid repetition, but at times you may need to repeat certain topics, complex topics. Maybe the student has, maybe a majority of the student has not understood that. And how will you come to know? From the student feedback, that ma'am, this topic you taught, we did not understand, kindly repeat it. But you have to realize, when will you keep the repetition session? You cannot be keeping a repetition session at the end of the term when the topic has already become more complex to them. You have to understand as to when do you schedule your repetition sessions. Connect, discuss, and reflect. Reflection is on two ways. Reflection is self-reflection, and reflection from the user end also. That is the student end also. Keep it short and simple. Although today's session was almost like around 1 hour 45 minutes, you cannot be scheduling your sessions of your student for such a long time. And if your session is a long session, have those icebreaker activities. Have those activities which will keep them involved, engaged. At the same time, ensuring that the learning is taking place then also. And yes, take it slow. Not everybody can understand at the same rate as to what I and you can understand. So as I told you, there we should be concerned with all types of learners who are sitting on the other side of the camera. There might be some people who are slow learners, somebody who is an hyperactive student, somebody who is an excellent student, somebody who is above average, below average. So to cater to all these things, we have to take it slow. So planning for effective remote teaching, you should have these things to be considered. And for having your own online teaching experience, prepare very well in advance, have quizzes, communicate and be flexible. If I would have become very rigid right now that I will disable chat, that is not going to work. I have to be flexible enough. If somebody is trying to ask something, I have to be flexible enough. But the instructions have to be made very clear at the beginning. So have an enriching online teaching experience. And I guess spoken a lot. And that's the end of everything with respect to tools. So there are tools which are subject specific tools. There are tools which are specially designed for, facilitating discussion and collaboration, like collaboration, I told you, Padlet and all. Then there are interactive learning quizzes and tool like Kahoot we discussed. Then we have tools which are useful to create online content. Edpuzzle is a tool, H5P is a tool. So in short, we focused on different tools catering to different aspect of online teaching. We have, somebody had mentioned about Google Forms also. Yeah, Google Forms is a very widely used tool, but unfortunately, due to lack of proper information about Google Forms, people make a lot of mistake with Google Forms when they're developing their content. And B, they do not know all the aspects that can be attached with the Google form. Like there are many who do not know that you can have an image also inserted into a Google form for evaluation. You can have a video also inserted in a Google form for evaluation. And Google form again is accessible only when you go online. If you're offline, you cannot access a Google form. So think, when you are having a synchronous session, what are activities you're going to use, what content you're going to use, and when you have an asynchronous session, what you want your students to utilize. So I guess this is all, and I'm saying I'm no authority, I'm no master to say that whatever I have told is something that you have to implement. But there is no harm in trying out certain tools. And I'll repeat again, use maybe 1 or 2 tools, but use it very effectively. I'm not saying use all the 10, 15, 20 tools that was discussed today. No, you don't have to use it. Suitability of the content is very important. Whether my content actually can be evaluated using that tool. Whether my learners would be able to understand using that tool. Whether it caters to the pedagogy that I'm thinking of. Then you select your tool. And this is possible only when you explore the tool on your own. So the end, I'll say explore, explore, and explore. So thank you so much. And I hope I could do justice or maybe give a little insight. And if any mistakes, believe me, even I'm learning. I'm saying I'm also, this pandemic is not something which I am facing every year. For me also, this was new only. So learning is something that did not stop me. And I am in my workplace right now because yes, technological impairment back at my home where there is no electricity and there is no internet. So I had to come to my workplace so that I could get connected to you. But we have to understand all these things. So what if today my session wouldn't have taken place? If I stay in an area where there is a technological impairment, electricity problem, this can happen for my regular sessions of my scheduled lectures also. So I should have a backup plan of having an asynchronous content being made. Even if I'm not there, I should share it in my Google Classroom, give proper instructions to my students that look at the video and then get back to it. So I guess that is how can be done. Annapurna ji, you need to say something here. You need to have some activity here.
No, there's no activity. We can, I think, take the questions now.
Yeah. And please, for questions, I guess the moderators will say how many questions, because I guess we are falling short of time. And I'm sure it's lunchtime for most of them. So people would want to, so any questions, if any? I'll stop my share. Any quick question?
Not many questions were there. Can you hear me, ma'am? Not many questions were there. And somebody has asked to give the examples of synchronous and asynchronous. But I think you have done that, because while telling the testmos.com, you gave the examples. So they've asked for the example and it is clear now.
Ma'am, I would be sharing that document so that you can share it with your participants. You can email them, so that it's not an exhaustive list of the tools, okay, but at least it will give them a refined list as to what tools they can use, because there are hundreds and thousands and it is very confusing. So it will be a refined tool which will be as per the, as I told you, we cannot be thinking global scenario. Our students are in front of us. I am not teaching a student who is sitting in America. I am teaching a student who is sitting in the remotest part of a village. So whether I can reach him online or not, if not, how do I make an offline content also made available to him? So accordingly, I'll share the content, ma'am.
Okay. Many of them have asked to share the PPT, so you have told you will share it, and not many other questions are there. Any other question? So no other questions are there.
If there are any reflections, if participants would like to have any reflection.
Any reflections from they say that it was very interesting, useful. So it was very informative. Even I feel that it was very informative. And if I'm told that I've got 20 years of experience in teaching, but some of the things are very new to me. So even I've got the inspiration to explore something after 20 years of my teaching.
Ma'am, I'll just like to say something out here. Like I was just introspecting also myself yesterday. It is a temporary situation right now in our lives where we are asked to do a remote teaching. Okay. But then learning something should not stop only with this temporary situation.
Yeah.
Maybe there may be a time wherein we will have to blend our regular teaching and we'll be asked to have our one day of the teaching into a remote teaching way only. So for that we need to equip ourselves. Like it is always like we do need based learning, and when the need is over, we get back to our original self. So I don't think so that we should get back to our original self. It is a time of transformation. It is a time of changing our mindset when education is concerned. And with our national education policy coming into picture, I'm sure online teaching or online content or all these things are definitely going to be an integral part of our day-to-day activities. So we need to learn the tools, and for our own benefit, we need to learn the tool. Otherwise, we'll be fired and we'll be asked to stay at home and not come to the schools.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much for this beautiful session. And also I thank Mrs. Annapurna, ma'am, for the beautiful and also simple activities. And now I call upon Mr. Dr. Manjunath. Dr. Manjunath to say a few words.
Ma'am, just 2 minutes. I'll just write down my email ID so that in case participants have certain questions, they can email me, because there are some questions which are popping up right now. And if we keep on answering that, explaining that, it will take another time sometimes.
Yeah, it's almost time.
Yeah, so participants can email me on my account and then I will get back to them for sure.
Okay, now I call upon Dr. Manjunath, who is the IQAC coordinator, Rajiv College of Education, Hassan, to say a few words on the session. Dr. Manjunath? not there.
Hello, ma'am. Audible?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay. Good afternoon for everyone. I thanks to Dr. Deepa Verma ma'am for your wonderful information about online tools for remote teaching. And thanks to Annapurna ma'am and Mini Varghese ma'am, our principal, and Uma ma'am. And finally, I thanks to all the participants. And tomorrow we'll start from second session on 11 a.m. I thanks to all once again. Thank you, ma'am. Over to Uma ma'am.
Okay. Once again, we'll meet tomorrow at 11 o'clock for the second session of this webinar. Tomorrow at 11 o'clock, Mr. Vivekananda will be taking the session. So thanks to everyone, and a special thanks to Dr. Deepa Verma once again. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Uma ma'am, Mini ma'am, Vivekananda, Manjunath sir, and Annapurna. Thank you so much for chipping in and helping me out. And thank all the participants. I have posted my email ID, both the email IDs. So if participants want, they can write on my email ID. I request participant not to post their email ID because then there will be confusion. I have written my email ID. So please, you can ask me the question and we call it a day. And I'm glad that we started on time and we are ending it exactly on time. So thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you,
Deepa
everyone.
ma'am.
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. Annapurna ma'am and Deepa ma'am. Thank you very much for the inspiring session. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.